Hello, sports fans. Welcome to Sports Central. Today, we're going to be going over my Week 15 college football predictions. So last week, I had a record of 16-6, and that brings my record on the season to 208-51. Kicking things off this week with a couple of games we have on Friday, beginning with the Mountain West Conference Championship game, and that is UNLV at Boise State. So this is the second time these two teams will play this week, as they met back in Week 9, with Boise State winning that game 29-24. And this is a huge matchup because the winner of this game is most likely going to end up making the college football playoff. But both these teams, they're great offensively and have elite rushing attacks, as both teams are top 10 nationally in each category. Boise State is third, scoring 40.6 points per game, and they're sixth in rushing, averaging 253 yards per game, while UNLV is seventh in scoring offense, putting up 38.7 points a game, and they're fourth in rushing yards per game at 254. Then defensively, these teams are also pretty similar, as Boise State is allowing 23.2 points per game and 106 rushing yards per game, while UNLV is allowing 22 points per game and 101 rushing yards per game. Now, in the first meeting between these two teams, both teams ran the football effectively, rushing for over 185 yards. But this is a very difficult game to predict. It was a close first meeting. I think this one will be close again. And it just makes this game really tough to predict with how similar both teams are. But I'm going to take Boise State to get the win. I think Ashton Jeanty will have a good game, as it doesn't matter how good of a defense he's been playing this season, as he's had at least 127 rushing yards in every game. But I think Ashton Jeanty plays well. Boise State, they've already beaten UNLV on the road. This time they get them at home. And I've got Boise State taking advantage of their home field advantage. And they get the win and make the college football playoff and win by a score of 28-23. Up next, we have the AAC championship game, and that is Tulane at Army. So this is an interesting game because this game was likely going to have playoff implications before Tulane lost to Memphis last week. But despite the winner of this game not really having a chance to make the playoff, I still think this is going to be a great game. Tulane is 9-3, and they face a great Army team sitting at 10-1. Tulane is great offensively, scoring 39.1 points a game, which is sixth best in the country, and they also have a great run game, averaging 212 rushing yards per game. But they face an elite Army defense that is the eighth best scoring defense in the country, allowing just 15.1 points per game, plus they do a great job at stopping the run, allowing 103 rushing yards per game. And on the other side, Army is also good offensively, scoring 32.7 points per game, and obviously they have a great run game with triple option, rushing for 312 yards per game. And they're led by star quarterback Bryson Daly, who's run for 1,300 yards and 25 touchdowns this season. But Tulane, they're also good defensively. They're allowing 18.4 points per game, and they're solid against the run, allowing 123 rushing yards per game. But this is another really tough game to predict. Army hasn't really played many good teams this season, as they've played just two teams with a record over 500, being East Carolina and Notre Dame, and Notre Dame beat Army by 35 points. Tulane has already played another triple option team this season, and they played Navy, and they destroyed them 35-0. But this is a game that could really go either way. I'm going to take Army because of their defense and their home, so I've got Army in a lower scoring game, 21-17, but this is a true coin flip. Up next, we have the Big 12 championship game, and that is Iowa State against Arizona State. So this is an interesting game because the winner of this game will obviously make the playoff, while the loser won't. Both these teams are sitting at 10-2, and I think this should be a great game. Iowa State is scoring 31.2 points per game, but Arizona State is good defensively, allowing 21.5 points per game. On the flip side, Arizona State is scoring 32.1 points per game, and they have an elite run game with running back Cam Skattebo, as Arizona State is averaging 195 rushing yards per game. Now, Iowa State is very good defensively, as they're the best scoring defense in the Big 12, allowing 19.6 points per game. But Iowa State, they're also really bad against the run, allowing 173 rushing yards per game and 5 yards per carry. Now, Iowa State was able to slow down a good Kansas State run game last week, so maybe they can do the same. But if Cam Skattebo can't get going on the ground, then that will put a lot of pressure on Arizona State quarterback Sam Leavitt. But I'm going to take Arizona State to get the win. I think Cam Skattebo and the run game will have a big game against a not great Iowa State run defense, and I have Arizona State winning the Big 12 championship and making the college football playoff, and winning this game by a score of 27-21. Moving on to the SEC championship game, and that is Georgia against Texas. So this is the second time these two teams will meet this season, as in their first meeting, Georgia dominated, winning 30-15, and that game was at Texas. Now this game is technically at a neutral site, although it's really just in Georgia's backyard, being played in Atlanta. But Georgia, they're good offensively, scoring 34.3 points per game, and they're averaging 297 passing yards per game. An even bigger thing for Georgia's offense is Carson Beck has stopped turning the ball over, as in his last 3 games, he has 11 touchdowns and 0 turnovers. But Georgia's offense now faces an elite Texas defense that is the #2 scoring defense in the country, allowing just 11.7 points per game. Plus, they're the best defense against the pass, allowing 143 passing yards per game. Then on the flip side, Texas is pretty good offensively, scoring 34.8 points per game, and they face a great Georgia defense that is allowing 20.5 points per game. Now, the thing that makes this really interesting is the Texas offensive line against the Georgia defensive line. The Texas offensive line is one of the best offensive lines in the country, although in the first meeting against Georgia, they've really struggled, allowing 7 sacks. Now, the thing that concerns me for the Texas offensive line is they were already terrible the first time these teams met, and now they could be without star left tackle Kelvin Banks Jr., as he is listed as questionable with an injury he suffered last week against Texas A&M. Now, the Texas offensive line was okay without Banks last week against a good A&M defensive front, so that just makes the game really tough to predict. But I could see this game going either way. I think if Texas can give Quinn Ewers time, they'll win this game. But it's really a coin flip. I think Texas is going to get the win. It's hard to beat a good team twice, and I've got Texas getting the win by a score of 27-21 and winning the SEC championship in their first year. Moving on to the Big Ten championship game, and that is Penn State against Oregon. So we will have a live watch party for this game starting at about 8 Eastern time on Saturday, so I hope to see you guys there. But this is an interesting game. Oregon is the only remaining undefeated team in the country, as they're 12-0, and they face a Penn State team who's 11-1. They're overrated, but they are still good. Oregon has a great offense, scoring 35.2 points per game, and they have a great pass game, averaging 270 passing yards per game. But Penn State is very good defensively, allowing just 14 points per game and 169 passing yards per game, and both those stats rank top 10 nationally. On the flip side, Penn State is scoring 33.3 points per game, and they rely on the run, rushing for 194 yards per game. But Oregon, they're great defensively, allowing just 17.1 points per game, and they're good stopping the run, allowing 112 rushing yards per game. But this game is very tough to predict. I think Penn State's defense is good enough to hold Oregon in check for a while, but they're going to need their offense to play well, and more specifically, quarterback Drew Allar, because I don't think Penn State will find a ton of success on the ground, so they're going to need Drew Allar to make some big plays, and I'm just not a big Drew Allar fan. I don't think he's that good, and I really don't think he's going to be able to make plays against a good Oregon defense. I think Penn State keeps this game close for a while before Oregon pulls away in the fourth quarter, and I think Oregon ends up with a pretty convincing win, 34-16. And our final game, we have the ACC championship game, and that is Clemson against SMU. So this is a huge game for the college football playoff, because the winner of this game will likely get a first round bye, and then it gets very interesting for the loser. If Clemson, they lose this game, they're out, but it creates a very interesting conversation for SMU. I think an 11-2 SMU should make it, but they are very much on the bubble. But both these teams are great offensively. As SMU, they're 5th in the country, scoring 39.2 points per game, and Clemson is also very good, as they're scoring 35.7 points per game. Both teams are also very good through the air and on the ground. Then defensively, both teams are also strong, as SMU is allowing 19.8 points per game, and Clemson is allowing 21.6 points per game. But this is a tough game for me to predict. While both teams are good defensively, I think both offenses will play well, and this is going to be a higher scoring game. But I think this is going to be a great game, and I'm going to take SMU to get the win and win the ACC in their first year in the conference. I think they have the better offense, their defense is slightly better as well, and I think they'll win this game in a shootout, 35-31. But those are my Week 15 college football predictions, or my championship week predictions. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, turn notifications. I do my best to post as often as possible. Be sure to check out the community tab of my channel, where you guys can vote on who you think will win some of this week's big games. But thank you for watching. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, turn notifications. I do my best to post as often as possible, and I will see you in the next video.